Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 12 of Trumpeter's German 2cm self-propelled gun. Scale is 1 to 35. In this part, I'm going to be putting everything together and the final touches to the actual build. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So first of all, to place the gun in, and this part is meant to go in to the house in there, but I'm going to be having it in a solid state. I'm not having it moving. So I've removed the two location pins that fit inside the housing. Now the reason why it's not going to be moving, initially it was going to be free moving, but it won't move if the sides are up. The sides should be down. I didn't realise that at the time, so I'm having to place it in an open movement state. It just actually fits in and no more with the size up and ready for transportation. It's a very tight fit, which is unfortunate, but I suppose that's how things go. Next is to fit the trailer. I'll just see if we can zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on here. The tow bar goes right into the hooking mechanism there, and there's a little pin that just drops in between it, holding it together. Now again, you can have this free moving, or of course you can cement it to have it locked in place. Since everything else is not going to be free moving, I thought I would just cement this in place also. This part is a little bit tricky to fit in, just because of the nature of it and the angle. I should have used my angle tweezers actually to put this in, but it's just the nature of it. Persevere with it and it will go in easy enough. I found in the end it was easier just to put the pin in and draw it back up slightly, then push in the trailer, then pop the pin back down, and then everything was stable. It did take a couple of goes to get it right, but eventually I did get it in. Of course, if you're setting this in a diorama or something, you may not wish to do this part of it, but that's it in now. I'll put a little bit of cement on it so it won't fall apart too much, and that's the main part of the build complete. So now I'm going to start weathering the build, and for this I'm going to be using Humbrol's Dark Earth pigment. This is a dry pigment that you can just brush on and mark up your model. Now I don't often use this. It's a very good product, but it's a bit messy, hence why I generally use the Tamiya's weathering series. But result-wise, I would say the Humbrol one works better for the area that the pigment will cover, and it's more textured as well. And the beauty about this stuff is you can add a little bit of water to it, and then you can have it spread out more and that make it act like a pigment. So it's a very good product to have. There's various other ones out there on the market, of course. I just have the Humbrol one, but I'm essentially just brushing this on. I'm using the debris that's fallen onto the piece of kitchen towel as well. You know, as I said, it does go everywhere, so just bear that in mind. And of course, you can put this on as thick or as little as you want. Because I'm using the mud section part around the wheels and track, I'm putting it on fairly deep in certain areas, light in others, just to give it contrast. But it's all the eye of the beholder, really, how much you want to put on it. So I'm also going to be using two different colours. So the next colour I'm using the iron oxide colour. This is like a darker sort of rust colour or reddy colour, and I'm using this one a lot more sparingly. I'm just dabbing it around where there's a corner or a harsher surface where it's going to have more of a wear and tear. Now it depends on how much weathering you want to do. It will depend on how much this stuff you use, or whatever weathering mechanics that you decide to do. But it's the general rule is if it's a sharp solid edge or corner edge, that's probably where you're thinking about you should put it initially. If you're going down the heavier route, then you can look at your individual panels for rust eating through the panels and so forth. But I'm doing no set pattern here, I'm just doing what feels natural and what feels right. And when you're weathering your models, especially like this, you want to build up the colours, you want to use different colours. So I've done another colour change, and this time I'm using the rust colour, once again by Humbrol. And as I said, these are pigments, you want to have a mix of colours and just build them up. So with the rust colour, I'm just going over some of the red that I've already put on. Again, like with the brown, some areas I'm putting on heavier and some I'm not. I'm also blending it in on the mat as well. If I feel that I'm putting on too much, I may add a little bit of the dirt again, just to balance it out, or indeed just wipe it off entirely. But you're doing it, don't be afraid that you're going to make a mistake. As long as it looks natural and flows, it should look okay. It's also should bear in mind this pigment will stick to the paint in your model, but when you turn it another direction, you will have some excess fall away. That's perfectly normal, and you can seal it in if you want to at this stage, but it's really not necessary. If you want a heavier look to it, then of course you would seal it in, or just, as I said before, just add a bit of water to mix it in and clump it together as such, and hopefully you will get your desired effect. But as you can see, I'm just carrying on going around, weathering where I feel that needs to be done. So as I was doing this, and as I predicted, I did manage to snap off some of the antennas. So these are going to have to be replaced. One of them I just caught there, and the other ones came off slightly. I've also taken off the gear stick and so forth. So what I've got here is I've got a bit of sprue, and I've stretched it to a thin line, and I'm just going to be painting that with Revit Aquacolor 79 greyish blue, and this is just for the stem of the either the antenna or the levers for the gear shifts or stick. So the first thing I'm going to be replacing is the little antenna things. Now these broke at the bottom, so I didn't have to replace them. It's just a case of putting them back onto the location point with a little bit of cement. The gear stick is slightly different. I'm just lighting up one part of the one end, as you can see there. I'm putting the flame out straight away, then just rubbing it on the mat, and this will give me a bulbous shape at the end, and this will just act as the shift handle as such. Of course you can leave it just as a straight stem if you wish, but this just adds a little bit of detail on it, and it takes next to no time to do. Just be very careful, because you are using plastic and a naked flame. Do not do this unless you're very confident to do so, and if you're not, do it under supervision. I can't stress that enough. Also, wear a mask when you're doing that as well, because it does give off fumes. So, going back to the stem, once it's cooled down, I am painting it in Revit Aquacolor 08 Matte Black, and that's just the little bulbous part that I melted off the stem. Then I'll just wait them to dry before attaching. And to attach them is very simple. They just go in the original holes. I should point out, actually, at the beginning of the build, when I put these levers onto the engine, have a look at the foot plate, because there's not the holes aren't actually big enough to place in the levers without a bit of manoeuvring. So I took them off and put them back in again. That's probably why I ended up losing them. You know, so if you are building this, you may want to do this part at the end anyway. That way you won't have to just stretch some sprue and try and shape the end so it's like a gear handle. And this is where the build will come to an end. So the next part will be the final reveal. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build, but all my future builds as well, of course. Hit that like button, that really helps. Leave a comment as well. And of course, you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.